evening from the steamy city of Kuala Lumpur, where the fourth match of England's summer tour and the 12th of their unbeaten first season under Graham Taylor brings them right on to the equator, where conditions of heat and humidity in tropical Malaysia could not contrast more abruptly with the biting cold of New Zealand. Indeed, Wellington, where England played last Saturday, is now snowbound, whereas here in Kuala Lumpur, at 9 o'clock in the evening local time, the temperature in the Merdeka Stadium is still in the high 80s. And the atmosphere, in its widest sense, is the most heated England have experienced on this trip. The crowd looks to be around 40,000, and they love their football in this former British colony and follow the English game closely on television. So the Malaysian public know the names of Graham Taylor's team almost as well as we do. 6 of the England side tonight have played in every match on the tour, and there are further chances for the likes of Gary Charles at number 2, David Batty at number 4, Nigel Clough at number 9, and John Solako at number 11. And Gary Lineker at number 10 is back from club duty in Japan to captain the side. As for the Malaysian team, well, many of them are making their first international appearance tonight. Even the goalkeeper Hassan has not played before at this level, but the 2 local heroes are 2 of their attackers, number 9 Dollar and number 17 Zainal. The Malaysian players, some of them semi-professionals, a mixture really of Chinese and Muslim extraction, and most of them known by their first name. England, the first senior nation to play a full international here in Malaysia, all in white. And if the World Cup ever comes to Asia, well, there's a great passion and appetite for football here, there's no doubt. And there's the first challenge going in from number 4 Chow, and it's a free kick to England on the right-hand side, which Stuart Pearce will go across to take in the opening seconds. And this is what the Malaysians are worried about, the height of England on set plays. Gary Charles moving away, Pearce takes. Header out was by Jaya. And here's a chance for Lineker. It's in! The first minute, and Gary Lineker scores for England. The debutant goalkeeper Hassan got a hand to it, but he couldn't keep it out. And an electric start here in the heat of Kuala Lumpur for England and their captain. The Malaysians thought they'd cleared the free kick, but when the ball went back in, Jeff Thomas was well forward helping it on, and Lineker's left foot shot, keeper could only help it up into the top of the net. What a start, Trevor Brooking.
Well, when you think Gary Lineker was in Australia, New Zealand, over to Japan, and then back here for this game, and a wonderful finish. I think it also highlighted the Malaysian defenders' problems in the air. They failed to clear the ball. Jeff Thomas laid it off, but as I say, a great piece of opportunism by Gary Lineker.
So he's now just 7 behind the record of Bobby Charlton. Here's Platt. Now on the far side, somebody is on the pitch, and the linesman's had to come on to tell the referee that we have an intruder, and he'll have to stop the game. The Malaysian sweeper, Serbi, went up to speak to the protester, who's now being taken away by the police force. This is Ahmed, the captain, wearing number 6. It's a good ball too. He's got Zainal well forward on the left-hand side. Ahmed again. Now a forward run by Nasir in the middle. Number 3 there, Serbi. Oh, and a mistake by Des Walker. And Zainal, what a chance he had there. The local hero, Zainal Aberdeen, number 17. He'll be furious with himself for not doing better with that chance. He's got a good record for Malaysia in front of goal, but not then. And a spot of relief for Des Walker, really. Here's Batty. Oh, and there's a chance for John Salako, and the goalkeeper does well there because Lineker was coming in to finish it off. Had the shot come cross, evaded the keeper. Well, there was a moment there for both teams to look back on. Here's Ahmed for Malaysia. Zaid, number 8, Nasir. Good triangle. Ahmed again, the captain. Batty with the challenge. Well, I think that was a better ball than Salako realised. He seemed to shade late in setting off for that pass. Oh, what a bad back pass. It's Lineker. Side netting. Well, number 3, Singh, almost presented Lineker with his second goal of the match.
Gary Lineker in the picture there. He's just covering the goalkeeper, but thinking to himself, well, he won't turn it back here. It just had to knock it out of play, but he didn't. Straight to Gary Lineker, and as Hassan came out, he just tried to lift it over and it just drifted into the near post.
And meantime, at the other end, a foul by Des Walker on Zainal, number 17, has given Malaysia a free kick right outside the penalty area and central. Zainal, Dollar and Nasir all round the ball. It's Zainal, deflected, corner. They weren't 10 yards when he took that, as a matter of fact, but whoever blocked it prevented Woods from having to make a save from Zainal. It's a corner to Malaysia. Been played short to Zaid. Well, after the low-key matches in Australia and New Zealand, which in all honesty is what they were, there's a real buzz about this game. It's a football-loving country, and there's some fervour here in the heat of Kuala Lumpur. This is Jaya into Ahmed. There's some neat ball players in this Malaysian team, especially in the midfield. That little dummy allowing Chow to come out of the back four. Serbi. Here he is again. Number 3. Came off David Batty. There goes Dollar with Des Walker. And Dollar's turn was matched by Walker. Here's Lineker. England spreading play out now from midfield. Here's Batty. Thomas has gone on a forward run. Flat. Salako. And in the middle is Lineker, but the ball won't reach him. Oh, Nigel Clough. David Platt. Good effort by a man who played in this stadium only 3 or 4 weeks ago for Aston Villa in a club match, and in fact scored at that left-hand end on that occasion. Nearly repeated it. Free kick to England here. Now the referee is happy for that to count. It was played quickly by Platt. And here comes Charles. The poor clearance, it's Jeff Thomas. Good strike by Thomas, and this 23-year-old goalkeeper Hassan, he's not very tall, but he seems to be able to deal with the low stuff all right, because he's made 2 or 3 saves now after having had the shattering experience of being beaten in the first 45 seconds.
He's actually held 2 low shots very well, because England forwards were following up and only had to bounce off his chest and he'd have been in trouble.
John Salako, their player, out on the right wing. Charles is going up outside in here. 3 waiting in the centre. Oh, good header by the defender. David Platt was coming in on the other side of him. And it was Lee, number 5, who cleared for a corner. Well, Pearce will take this. Wright is well forward. And there is Wright. Oh, and Nigel Clough was close, and it's been stabbed in. Lineker again. Gary Lineker gets the second for England from the corner. And that's 2-0, and they've both gone to the captain. The corner swung in here by Pearce. Mark Wright may have just got a touch there, and Lineker turns it in for 2-0 with 23 minutes gone.
I think the weakness on crosses was highlighted there. Mark Wright getting a touch on, and in fact Gary Lineker just beating Nigel Clough, who was lurking himself.
So 2-0 to England, and this is by far, I think, the most exciting, and it may prove the most satisfying match of the tour. And incidentally, Lineker's best scoring performance for England, 4 in Spain, in Madrid, back in 1986. So he could go for that target tonight, the way things are going. Here's Jeff Thomas. Charles. This is Lineker again. Clough at the near post. Salako back to Lineker. Salako's header back in, and the Malaysians are rocking back there. They've never met a team quite like this before, and they're not quite sure how to cope with England's incessant attacking. This is Pearce. Played back for Jeff Thomas, didn't quite run from off. The little overhead effort there was by Gary Lineker going for the hat-trick, and he might well have made it as well.
England interchanging well, they're taking it in turns in this heat, particularly in midfield. Jeff Thomas, David Platt, even David Batty, and then out wide, Gary Charles and Stuart Pearce, all interchanging, taking it in turns, getting forward and making the run.
Lineker, Clough waiting in the centre. Gary Charles is well forward in this attack. Here he is now.
Psychologically, the worst thing that could have happened to the Malaysian team was to concede that early goal, because it made them look apprehensive defensively. They're caught in two minds, not dealing positively with crosses, and England, of course, now with the second goal behind them, getting more and more confident, making more runs, and you do wonder now perhaps what the scoreline might end up as.
There goes number 7, Maklan. And now John Salako has switched from the right wing to the left for England, number 11. Also need to point out, I suppose, that if England score one more, and I'm sure they probably will, it'll equal their best total under Graham Taylor so far, which is 3 against the Soviet Union. Jeff Thomas, and Lineker again! Good save by the goalkeeper. Here's Platt. Oh, and Lineker at the near post has done it! It's a hat-trick for the England captain.
Well, the first shot was quite well saved by the goalkeeper, Hassan, and but then moved out wide to David Platt, held the ball up well, clipped it into the near post, and there was Gary Lineker with the faintest of touches into the net, and a hat-trick. Already got the match ball, perhaps.
He's got the match ball in half an hour, Trevor. That's the header that makes it 3. And in the first half here, Gary Lineker has taken his total goals for England from 41 to 44. Here's Dollar. And again, Jaya is out on the left, but Batty snapping in is penalised. Number 6 here, Ahmad. There's Walker's header out. There's Zainal. Maklan. Zainal, chance for a shot here, deflected. It's going to be a corner to Malaysia. taken by Nasir. They've got the big number 5 in there, Lee. Someone to the near post, in fact. Pulled right back. Oh, couldn't get the shot in. That was Dollar who was close. This is Jaya. Onside, Maclan. Little ball played back in. What a good little shot. Oh, Chris Wood snatches it. There was an appeal, hopefully, by Lee that it crossed the line, but I don't think it did. Chris Wood's just flummoxed for a moment, but he kept the ball this side of the line. This is Salako. And there was a chance there, perhaps, for Malaysia. Maclan. Lineker. Thomas making a forward run.
It's not easy for a goalkeeper when you're inactive for such a long period suddenly to come out and then make a save. But of course, you know, that's what goalkeepers at this level must do. Here we see it here where it's pulled back, and as I say, I think it's more of a clip. You see it spinning and then it just sort of goes through the hands, and fortunately Gary Charles leaves it then for Chris Woods to snatch it second attempt.
Coming up to half-time then in the humidity of Kuala Lumpur, with the temperature still very high. It's getting on for 10 o'clock at night here. Here's Zainal. Maclan. Number 6 here, Ahmed, the captain. What would your summary of the first half be then, Trevor?
Well, a very pleasing one for Graham Taylor. He said that he didn't want his side to be complacent. They haven't been. I mean, great start for them to score in the opening minute, and I think the first 45 minutes has to be all about Gary Lineker, doesn't it? Having travelled back, I'm sure, in the hope of scoring. Here he is with a hat-trick, and there's the whistle for half-time.
We ought to make the point as well that Lineker, with his 3 tonight, now has 44 England goals. That was the figure that Jimmy Greaves finished on, the second highest scorer of all time. So Gary is now joint second, and he may go second in his own right in the second half of this match, where England lead 3-0. At the start of the second half, Malaysia have brought on their number 12, Azizol. It looks very much as though the right-back Zaid, who was injured in a tackle with Stuart Pearce in the first half, is the player who's been replaced. This is Pearce, in fact. Still a lingering British influence here in Malaysia. It's taught English as a second language in all the schools. Certainly know how to pronounce Gary Lineker. Here's number 7, David Platt. Down the years as well, lots of English club sides have played friendly matches here. Perhaps Aston Villa being the most recent. Here's Gary Charles. That was the 18 Jaya, and that's a fairly hefty challenge by David Batty on number 5, Lee. But England still very much in control. Stuart Pearce on the left. Nigel Clough collecting. Finding Salako. Gary Charles overlapping. Oh, what a splendid overhead effort by David Platt. Well, he hasn't scored on this tour, but he's worked, as usual, furiously hard and might have pulled off there one of the goals of the season. It's Ahmad here. For back heel, Matlin. Goal for Malaysia. The first they'd ever scored against England. And the stadium erupts. It's 3-1. And number 7, Matlan Marjan, becomes the first player in his country's history to score a goal against England after 9 minutes of the second half. Little back heel by Zainal was quite superb, and then Matlan got away from Mark Wright and seized his chance with his left foot.
Well, I think Matlan might become the national hero after scoring there. It was a good move, good build-up. He turned inside Mark Wright, and I think it just then went past the England defender, slightly unsighted Chris Woods, and is in the corner of the net.
That really will do their confidence a power of good. This is Ahmad who really started the move. And it means England have got to lift their game again now. Good running by Gary Charles. Lineker to his left. Clough to his right. Here's Clough. Lineker!
Nearly the perfect reply. Gary Lineker giving a clap towards Nigel Clough. It just ended up going behind him, and he tried to clip it a yard or so behind him, just dragged it past the near post. Good build-up and good run from Gary Charles to help in the play.
Graham Taylor and Laurie McMenemy have got 3 attackers down there on the bench. After being shell-shocked in the first half hour, Malaysia are now playing with some poise and some skill. This is Zainal.
Better shot from Zainal there. If he'd have hit them like that, the 2 opportunities he had in the first half could have been a little bit more awkward for England.
Well, here's David Platt. Lineker is sprinting towards the near post. It's going to be a corner to England. Nice clean catch for Hassan. Had a bit of help from Gary Lineker, but I don't think he wants to know, the goalkeeper. They're carrying 23-year-old Hassan on his debut off the pitch on a stretcher, and in his place comes number 21, who's the reserve goalkeeper, Khairul Azman. And it's his first cap as well, would you believe?
I'm sure Graham Taylor must be thinking about now 2 substitutes coming on, probably forward players. Perhaps he's got David Hurst, Ian Wright and Mark Walters there, and I would think 2 of those 3 would be about right now, because the number of forward runs is falling away all the time.
And we're actually halfway through the second half at this stage as Stuart Pearce goes on the overlap. He's got 3 waiting in the middle. Nigel Clough is there with the turn. Can he set up Jeff Thomas? That's a good effort. Oh, well, he doesn't seem destined to score for England, Jeff Thomas. That was on his right foot, which is not the one he prefers. But in this, his 7th international, he's still looking to get off the mark. Mark Wright with a good long header. Now needs a flick on here. Offside has been given against Lineker. It was Clough who flicked it on. Jaya. And again, number 18. Batty intercepts. Platt. Thomas. Pearce coming up. And David Platt's in for this. It might come on to John Salako. And the chance is there, and it's number 4. And who is it else but Gary Lineker? And he's equalled the 4 he scored in Spain, as John Salako chips the ball in beyond the substitute goalkeeper, and Lineker is first again with the header.
David Platt did very well, made one of his normal runs, took the defenders away. John Salako picking Gary Lineker out. A second header, not bad. Evening's work, one with the right foot, one with the left, and 2 with the head.
Thomas. Lineker's in there again! Just into the side netting. He was inches away from number 5.
Can't really criticise him when he's already scored 4. Good build-up play, unselfish play again by Jeff Thomas, who has worked very hard all throughout the 4 games.
We've been playing half an hour in the second half here in Kuala Lumpur, and there's Zainal closing in on Gary Charles. It's 4-1 to England. And that back pass by Batty might mean it's 4-2 now. It's Matlan again, and it's there. The Malaysians have scored again, and it's the same player, number 7, Matlan, and a dreadful back pass that really presented him with the goal and makes the score 4-2 and gives the home supporters something to cheer about again. Well, he will be a hero now, the number 7. 2 goals against England in Kuala Lumpur, and David Batty will want to forget that back pass, Trevor.
It was a tired-looking back pass, just shinned it a bit. Matlan kept his head very well. Chris Woods tapped it in, and you got a feeling he might have 1 or 2 free dinners in Kuala Lumpur in the next few weeks.
Well, here he is, taking it round the goalkeeper, and his name will be etched forever now in Malaysian football history, there's no doubt about that.
It's a lesson, though, for young David Batty. You've always got to keep your concentration. Gary Charles had a similar bad back pass against New Zealand, got away with it, but on this occasion, Matlan there in the picture made him pay.
Well, I suppose we've got to say that technically Matlan's on a hat-trick now, having seen Lineker score 4 for England. It's Charles. Nigel Clough coming short. This is Salako. Good stop.
Goalkeeper's done quite well. A couple of crosses and held on to a couple of low shots, but unusual to have 6 goals and only 2 goal scorers.
That's the header by Mark Wright. And rather looks as though Graham Taylor's going to let the 11 who started the match see this one through. He's made no sign of having anybody coming off the bench. This is number 4, Chow, to number 9, Dollar. Azizol. Well, before the match, the Malaysians were telling us that Zainal and Dollar were their star men, the heroes, and it's really the other man, Matlan, that's made his name. Gary Charles here, trying to feed the ball into the near post, and it finally came back to John Salako for the shot. Thomas. Clough. Charles. Salako.
Well, it just shows how comfortable he is with both feet there, John Salako. Turned inside, did everything right, hit it with his left foot, just pulled it and towards too far the near post, and the crowd having a chuckle because it's gone straight through the advertising boarding.
Here in Kuala Lumpur, it's Malaysia 2, England 4, in the most exciting match by some way of England's tour. A lot of people thought England would score a few goals, but not many thought Malaysia would get 2. Forward by Jeff Thomas. There goes Salako using his speed. He's through here, and he's got past the goalkeeper and blocked by Serby, the number 3. And Lineker in the middle hangs his head because he was on hand too. So England England rounding off their tour in quite a pleasant match in its own way from the spectators' point of view. This is Jeff Thomas. Lineker's hovering on the 6-yard line, clubs in there too, and Lineker couldn't get to that. Pierce to Salako. Oh, Lineker! Didn't fall for Lineker. Platt, the goalkeeper, came for the cross, completely missed it, and I don't think Lineker had time to react, really. Here's Charles. Back to Clough. Still Nigel Clough. Pierce. Jeff Thomas. Pierce goes for a possible return. Here he is, Stuart Pearce. Goalkeeper. Ball to Lineker. Oh no.
There's no question then. Stuart Pearce was after a goal, and again, like on a number of occasions, Malaysian defenders, and on this time the goalkeeper, as you see the ball bounces up, the goalkeeper very wary of Stuart Pearce, not surprised, gets a knock, and as the ball then is flicked over by Nigel Clough, it's teasingly just a bit too high to Gary Lineker, and David Platt just behind him thinking, I think I could have tucked that in.
So the tour drawing to a conclusion, Trevor?
Well, enjoyable finale, 6 goals, and of course Gary Lineker headed towards that record, and we all know about his finishing, but 1 or 2 pointers I'm sure Graham Taylor's learnt, and gradually a nucleus of a side building, apart from those obvious ones that have been left behind on this particular trip.
Well, now can England go out with a 5th goal? It's Salako. Thomas. And there's the final whistle of England's summer tour. It's 4 wins out of 4. It's an unbeaten first season for Graham Taylor, 9 wins and 3 draws in 12 games. And it's 4 more goals for Gary Lineker to take his England total to 45. The final score in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia 2, England 4. Well, Gary, you've always been reluctant to talk about this record until you've got within sight of it, but 4 more tonight puts you on 45. You've passed Jimmy Greaves, and Bobby Charlton's 49 is now very much in view.
Well, it's certainly nice to go past Jimmy, one of the all-time great goal scorers. I think he did it perhaps a bit quicker than I did, but no, I'm delighted. It's made the trip worthwhile. In fact, I had to go to Tokyo and then come back with a sort of 7-hour delay. The fact that I've scored a few has made it all worthwhile in the end.
Which one of the 4 pleased you most tonight?
The first one, I think, because it was on the left foot and I hit it really well. And you can't score any more until you get the first. And the first goal in any game is always, for me, the most important one.
What about the game in general? Did you think there were any other pluses from an England point of view?
Certainly, I thought that we worked tremendously hard. I mean, it really was, it was seriously hot out there. It was terribly difficult conditions with only 2 or 3 days to actually prepare for it and acclimatise, which isn't really enough in this sort of heat. So I thought we stuck at it well, played some good stuff, got a few goals, and you can only win against whatever team you play. A bit disappointed, a couple of mistakes let in them for a couple of goals, but all in all, it's been a good tour with 4 games. We've put on some good performances, and we've got 4 wins.
Is it possible to look back rationally on this tour, and indeed on your first season, and tell us whether you've been able to draw any firm conclusions?
Well, it's a little bit difficult, I suppose. You'll sit and think about it. We are undefeated over the whole season. I think what's also interesting to say, you know, that since the 1988 European Cup, when unfortunately we lost the 3 games, we've had 3 seasons of international football, England. They've played 38 games now and only lost 2. Obviously that's not counting the penalty shootout, but to only lose 2 games in 38 matches over 3 seasons, I think is of great credit to the England footballers. And I think that's the kind of thing that I would like to see pushing more, than in fact, you know, the kind of things that we do. We do tend at times to be rather negative about ourselves, and I would think at the moment that record is probably second to none in the whole of world football.
Had your first season as an international manager. Have you seen anything that makes you change your mind? Because you said to me at the beginning that you didn't think international football was basically any different from any other sort of football.
Well, it's not, because at the end of the day, if you don't score the goals, you're not going to win the games. And the goals come in exactly the same way, both for and against, as they do in other games. I mean, you've seen in today's game, we've a 4-1 lead, and I mean, how many times do you see back passes in any level? You see that on the Sunday Park, and Dave Batty won't be pleased with himself. But I mean, that's what I'm saying about the actual scoring and conceding of goals. It's no different from if you score or concede them on the Sunday Park.
When you get back home with a clean piece of paper and you think of the players who've been on the tour, and indeed those who couldn't come, do you think you'll be a little bit nearer, or will you be near maybe the 22 names who will form the nucleus of what's important next season?
Oh, I think already, John, that we've probably got 16 or 17 players. You see, in your first season, I think Bobby Robson and previous managers were the same. It's a natural tendency of football, it's ever changing, and therefore you're always looking, it's an ongoing situation, but amongst all of that, we've always had stability. I mean, whenever I've named a squad of, say, 21, 22 people, there's always been 14 or 15 of the same names. If you take this particular trip, where I couldn't actually take everybody I would have liked to have taken, still in the 4 games that we've played, I think something like 5 lads have played every game. Even though there's change going on, there's been a lot of continuity and stability in this last year, not least in results.
And finally, as we go back after this exhausting trip to these 3 countries, have you any thoughts now about how you'd like to see England tours structured in the future?
Well, I think the difficult one is the one after the World Cup. And this one brought a lot of pressure on it as soon as it was a full tour. Because however you play, if we were to have lost any one of these games, all hell would have let loose at home. There wouldn't have been any consideration given to the players that are making their debuts. And also the fact the record books would have shown it forever. And none of the players wanted that. So I think the year after the World Cup, I think probably consideration ought to be given to perhaps a tournament in the country where the next World Cup is going to be played. For instance, it wouldn't have been a bad thing if we'd gone and had a couple of games in America. I would have seen a little bit more sense in that. And I'm not being disrespectful to, in fact, coming out over here, because I understand that the Football Association and England have to be seen to be waving the flag. And also, it's important because there's a lot of people, particularly in Malaysia, very, very keen on English football. But I think to make it a full tour, with all due respect to our hosts, puts added pressure on England, which isn't called for. It's unnecessary. We don't need to have that kind of pressure on us for this kind of tour.
So another 10-month football season grinds to a halt at nearly midnight in Malaysia. And Graham Taylor's thoughts there on the structure of these tours may well be crystallised by the imminent blueprint for football from the Football Association. In the meantime, England finish the season unbeaten and look forward, hopefully, to the European Championship at the end of next season. For now, goodbye from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia.